Amy Hill.
Hi.
Yay. So good to be here with you in Hawaii.
We're in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yay.
To be exactly pinpointing our location, it's in Anaha, which is in Kaka'ako. I know you love the Hawaiian words, Amy.
Yeah, Amy, they all ran together in my mind. I couldn't find anywhere I was today.
You're so funny. Is it Hakoa?
I did not do well.
But you made it all the way around the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I felt very accomplished.
You did a lot yesterday, and you've made a message out of your mess, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that means have fun, even though it's raining.
Yeah, or like sunshine, what is it? I don't know. Sunshine at a...
We've had a little cocktail as well.
Yes, we have.
So we're a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know you had a vision of what your trip was going to be like, and it's not exactly that, but you have made it a great experience because you're willing to go with the flow.
Thank you for that.
But it's true.
Hey, it's Evie Moss, and this is another episode of It's Quite a Living. These are conversations with friends of mine who get to say, it's quite a living, as opposed to a lot of us who can just say, it's a living. Anyway, one of those people is Amy Hill. You might recognize Amy from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Preacher, and Mom. You may have heard her in shows like American Dad and Lilo and Stitch, King of the Hill. She's done a lot of voiceover work. And she started her career at the Asian American Theater Company, which is where I met her in San Francisco, where she was doing improv and a lot of voiceover then. I was starstruck even before she was the star that she is now. Amy's since gone on to work in a lot of regional theater, from the Mark Taper Forum to Broadway. So this conversation was recorded in January in Honolulu in her home. The audio quality isn't great. The quality of the content is great, so I wanted to make sure you still got to hear what she had to say. But at the time, we also didn't know if Magnum PI would be back for a third season. And I just talked to her again, and I'm happy to report that they're starting production in August. So look forward to another season of Magnum PI with Amy Hill as Kumu. And here's a little bit more about her personal and her professional life.
Yeah, it is.
We should explain why I am visiting you in Honolulu, in Hawaii.
In Hawaii. Well, we've known each other since we lived in San Francisco, both of us.
I think I figured it out. We're in our 5th decade.
Yes.
And that seems completely wrong because we're both so young.
We are. Well, you haven't changed a bit.
You haven't either.
No.
You're blonde.
I'm blonde. That's true. I'm a blondie now. But you know, a lot of people as they age, they go blonde.
Yes. Are you having more fun? Older and blonder?
Well, it's because when you're getting gray hair, it's like then you don't have to do the roots. If you go kind of blondish, the gray grows in and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I was so attached to the brown hair, plus, you know, my characters are always with brown hair. But it was getting so annoying having to do root touch-up constantly.
Yeah.
Within a week, I had to do root touch-up.
Well, now they do it for you.
They do.
Because you're here on Hawaii on the re-up of, the remake, the redo, the new version of
Magnum PI. Yes. And I think this Magnum is way cuter. I know
So
people were very attached to Tom Selleck. And I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to go to set. But, you know, he's cute. Jay Hernandez is adorable. He's not even in this building because he's in LA doing upfronts. Never mind.
He's at TCA.
TCA.
The Television Critics Association.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes,
he's there. So thank goodness he said he was taking a bullet for all of us. Because it's exhausting.
Yeah,
he works really hard, and then he has to fly to LA and do this publicity stuff, and then fly back and go straight to work on Monday morning.
Well, that's the life.
Thank God it's not me.
Yeah, so let's talk about when it is you. Let's go back to you and me. Enough about you. What do you think?
Yeah.
No. So we met like in the 80s. We won't say when in the 80s.
No.
I'm just leaving that.
Right.
loose.
Right.
And you were doing improv.
Yes.
For National Theater of the Deranged.
Yes, I was.
And I was a big fangirl, and we ended up being signed with the same agent. Yes, Amy Hill and I.
That's right.
Same agent.
We had Grimet, Joan Spangler, who had big giant acrylic nails, I remember.
And then I got the big giant acrylic nails.
I was too scared of doing the acrylic nails.
Maybe that's why you're successful now.
That's right, no acrylic nails. You know, it was interesting to look back on those days because they acted so Hollywoody. And then when I moved to LA, it was like, well, nobody's acting like that. They only acted like that in San Francisco. It was what they thought Hollywood was like.
Right. Well,
strange.
That was a fun time, though.
It was.
We were kind of big fishes in a small pond.
Right.
And then I got signed with a big voice agent in LA.
Who did you get signed with?
The guy who helped
Joseph Helfond and Ricks?
That's right. And Don, he was a legend, and he found Casey Kasem. So he was Casey's agent.
Right.
And when I got signed with JHR, I thought, all right, I'm moving to LA. I'm going to be big voice talent on cartoons and everything.
Right. Well, you have the voice. Well, I moved to LA and thought I'd have voice as my,
Yeah,
I was big.
So much. You were
big. I did. And then I moved to LA. I couldn't get arrested with a voice agent. And Michael Pritchard liked me as a person, and he was signed with Joseph Helfond and Ricks, and they signed me because of Michael. I didn't get any work, but
you got acting work.
I got acting work.
Let's talk about that progression.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, all right.
Well, I had enough friends in Los Angeles that when I got there, I had other people who were editors and stuff, and so I actually got a job working on Lifetime Medical Television, doing all the narrations for medical procedures, because I was really good at saying medical terms, cold. See, that was my skill, I think, in San Francisco. I could do scripts really easily cold.
Yes.
So that's what I did, and then I did Joseph Helfond and Ricks had, I think, a game show guy. I think he got me on a bunch of game shows, and I did game show run-throughs, and I also did the Gong Show and won. I was on the Gong Show.
Talent?
Well, I had these characters from improv and sketch in San Francisco. So I did a character called Coco.
Yes.
And I wrote my own song based on a song that I found in karaoke that was, "You Are My Funky Monkey Baby."
Can you do a little?
Yeah. Kimi wa funky monkey baby, kimate iru yo. Yume de mita fantasy.
And that, ladies and gentlemen,
won the Gong
was the
Show.
beginning.
That was the beginning.
Of your
and all my
career.
theater friends were like, "Oh, Amy, no." And I said, "It's an after contract." I got after scale.
And after, we should tell people,
in the old days,
that was the union that was primarily radio and television. Right. And SAG was aspirational one. Yeah, the Screen Actors Guild. Right. And boy, if you had your union cards, that was
You didn't
great.
have a SAG card when you moved to LA?
I did.
I think it was great we started out in San Francisco because I didn't know it was so hard to get.
That's right.
We both got these cards and was like, okay.
Yeah.
And they were sister unions, so it was really cheap to get in when we got in.
Yeah, I got mine from an episode of Divorce Court and an episode of the Dan White incident.
And those are both in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Wow. See how fancy you were?
Maybe Divorce Court was LA.
I don't have any idea.
I don't know. There was 5 decades.
Well, I couldn't get arrested. I didn't have a theatrical agent in LA for a long time. I sent out stuff and I just couldn't. And I think there was one Asian American agency that said they'd take me, but I didn't want to be put into and then they didn't have really great people. So I didn't want to be in that agency. And I finally got an agent who was not that great, but at least somebody who could send me in to see stuff.
Well, when did you create your one-woman show, Tokyo Bound?
Well,
was that LA or was that?
That was LA because, I was struggling. I was doing these game show run-throughs in medical television and my first time collecting unemployment insurance.
Oh.
Because of all the work I did in San Francisco, I was able to do that. But I kept thinking they were going to say, well, can you answer phones?
Yeah.
But they didn't care. In LA, if you said you were an actor, they didn't expect you to do anything else.
Yeah.
in my brain, I thought, I should be able to get another job to pay the rent.
Well, some of us sold cosmetics.
Yeah, we did a lot of things, but I went in and I collected my unemployment insurance, and they never expected me to do anything but act, which was lovely.
That was lovely, because the world is a better place.
That's
Amy
right.
Hill is only required to act.
That's right.
Because look at you now.
Exactly. Well, so here's what happened. I also speak Japanese. Mm-hmm. And so I had already a community of some Japanese speaking people in the business. One of them said, do you want to interpret on a movie that's shooting in Monterey? You could be in the art department. And I said, it was $1,000 a week.
Yay.
I said yes, because I needed some money.
Right.
So I went to Monterey, and I ended up being the DP's interpreter, which was hell, because you start at the crack of dawn, and this is the day of film.
And that's the director of photography.
Yes, and that worked until late at night, because then we would watch dailies, because that's when film existed, and anything that could possibly happen bad
Right,
happened.
so you check the results on film each day.
Yes,
the dailies.
okay. Yeah, that's why it's called dailies. And because it's on location, it's a 6-day work week. So the only day you have off is Sunday. And I laid in bed many times thinking I could sneak out in the middle of the night and nobody would know. I was so miserable. So much hard work.
How many weeks did you do that?
It was about a month. Yeah. And it was a horrible production. Everybody was just hideous to each other. And I was the interpreter, so people were being hideous to each other through me. So I got all that toxic energy
coming in
from English to Japanese. And the Japanese thought I was one of them, so they'd say nasty things about the Americans. And the Americans thought I was one of them, so they'd say nasty things about the Japanese. It was horrible. And during that time, I got a call from LA. In the Asian American community, there was going to be a solo festival. And one of the people said, I heard you had a solo show. And I said, yes. This is before the internet. And I said, yes, but all my stuff is in LA. So, I'll have to finish this job before I go back. And they didn't bug me about it. And I finished that job, moved back to LA, and within a month had written a 20-minute short solo piece. And did it, and everybody loved it. And then I'd worked in San Francisco and Seattle in my days of theater. And Seattle called and said, can you develop that into an hour? And I said, sure. So I went up to Seattle and did it. And then I went to San Francisco and did it. So I called it Tokyo Bound, which had a double meaning of being, bound up in Tokyo. Because growing up, my mother is Japanese and my dad's Finnish. And of course, my mother influenced me more than my dad did. But I went to Japan just to get out of Seattle. And I ended up understanding my mother, understanding who I was, and how Tokyo had created this opportunity for me. So it's like the moment of the show where there's that realization is when I learned how to speak Japanese, and my mother wrote me a letter in Japanese. Growing up, I thought my mother was just an idiot because she had a big accent, and I thought she was just stupid.
Right.
And the letter was poetic and beautiful, and so erudite. This is like my beloved Amy. She never said anything like I love you or nothing growing up. Suddenly it's like, I'm beloved, and in Japanese. And then she said, at the end of the letter, it's just beautiful stuff. And then at the end, it was like, your loving mother. What the hell? Who's this what? It changed everything. And it changed how I felt about myself. And that's now my email is still Tokyo Bound. But it's all about a coming of age experience. And it was also, I could come back to the mainland, to the States, and I felt like I could stand anywhere I wanted to, and I had a right to be there. Growing up, I never felt like I had a right to be anywhere. I was always on the outside looking in.
Well, it's interesting because your experience in Monterey on that show of being the middle ground of the good and the bad and the in and the out, the two cultures and the cultural divide, and you're half Finnish and you're half Japanese. So it must have been tough to find a place to stand. Which side of the line do you stand on? And you've been able to leverage that both, but you also have sort of this non-specific sort of look to you. So you've played many characters of many cultural origins.
Well, I pretty much stick to non-specific or specific Asian.
Right.
So when I moved to LA, and I think I used to do these casting workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Did you do those?
Yeah. Yep.
So, and they were basically
you would
cold
pay money, and the casting director would come in.
Casting directors would come in, and you just do. For
do a
me,
scene.
it felt like a masterclass, because a lot of the people that I worked with in this one group that I did, they were brilliant actors. So to see them pick up a script and make choices on the fly was amazing. And in that workshop, a casting director called me in, the casting director for Santa Barbara. I never anticipated getting work out of it, but I thought it was a good $20 to spend on just learning how people make choices and how they affect these choices and commit. It doesn't matter. There's so many million choices you can make in anything, but as long as you commit, it becomes the right choice.
Yes.
Exactly. So I went in, and I didn't know what he wanted, and I was really excited because it was like my first job. And he said, okay, this is the script. And I was like, a Nicaraguan nun. But it was like a 12-episode arc. And I was like,
I could do that.
I can do that, because I had a boyfriend from Nicaragua for 3 years in San Francisco.
Oh.
And I remember his accent, and I hung with these people. And I thought, politically, I was like, I can't do this. This is for the people that are Latino.
Right.
But I did it, got the job, went to the set, and the set, they had all these signs in Spanish, like no fumar.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know no fumar? Well, these people. What does that sign say? No smoking. And all the extras were like, hey, ¿cómo estás? And I'm like, I know enough Spanish.
Yeah, you answered in Japanese, though.
Yeah, I answered in Japanese just to throw them off. And I shared a dressing room with another Latina actress, and she was talking all the time and saying, our men this and our people this, and I didn't know how to break in and say, they're not my people. So we did this whole thing, and then at the end, this is like weeks later, she says, oh, it's a good thing. We can move on. We're good. We can do, English-speaking stuff, but we could also do Spanish, because the Spanish market's huge. And I said, well, I don't really speak Spanish. And she was like, well, didn't your parents speak Spanish at home? I said, well, my mom's Japanese, my dad's Finnish. And she's like, what the? So
Another example of the brilliance of Amy Hill's acting.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Santa Barbara, did that feel like your first kind of quasi-big break?
It was a big break, but I could never do that part again.
Right.
Because, my friends who are Latino in the theater community were like, well, you did a good job.
Yeah.
Because I did do a very slight Nicaraguan accent. But I felt really uncomfortable the whole time.
What came next?
Oh, then I was New York. I was one of Julie Kavner's friends in the post office on the Tracy Ullman show. And then I had to speak with a New York accent, which I'm not good at either. That's why the voice jobs, I never really was that good at accents. And I could do Asian accents.
And medical terms.
Exactly. Because I was at the Asian American Theater Company, and I did Asian American sketch comedy. And so I'd really worked hard at creating real people with accents that were Asian. And then all of a sudden I'm like, New York? I can mimic.
Right.
But I can't pull it out of the air that easily. So, and this is before the internet, before we had now I can YouTube people with New York accents and practice before I go in. Those days I had Edith Skinner tapes.
I
remember Edith Skinner? I had Edith Skinner accent tapes.
Yep.
Mid-Atlantic, New York.
Yes.
So I used those things to try to bake it. But I did okay. And I could just copy Julie.
And then you got film work. You got a big film.
Well, I was in San Francisco. I did dim sum in San Francisco, and I should have come down during that time because, Roger Ebert, all these people. I never thought I would go to LA because, San Francisco people poo-poo LA because they think they're much better actors. It's the Boston, New York deal.
Yeah, right.
So stupid. So when I moved to LA, I was like, wait a minute. All the good actors live here. Why didn't I move here a long time ago? I mean, really, actors from New York, Chicago, London, they come to LA.
Well, that's what they ate my lunch when I moved there. So.
Yeah, because they want to make a living.
Yeah,
they can do theater forever, and they're good.
Right.
They're good. So anyway, it was a learning experience, a hard learning experience, a good one. So The first big break in film, I think, came with Scrooged.
Oh.
I was in a movie with Bill Murray.
Wow.
I know.
Oh my God, and you've done so many things. I feel like such a bad friend.
No, you're fine. I
don't
walked
know your IMDb by heart.
You don't have to. So I remember walking on the Paramount lot between different stages, and it was during a writer's strike, so we had to make up our own lines, which was good because I was from improv.
You're improv.
But I remember walking through these stages and thinking, oh my God, this is Hollywood, because the sets.
Yeah.
There was snow and fairies coming through. I mean, it was just like magic.
Wow. It's a great visual.
Oh, it was amazing.
Love it.
Yeah. And, that was my first moment of I'm in Hollywood and this is the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. And then I did, like the Tracy Ullman show, I don't think we had an audience. But the first studio audience, I think, might have been Growing Pains. I was on that a million years ago. I played a doctor. Yeah. And years later, the woman who's on Growing Pains, the mom, she became a director, and I worked with her on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Very tiny life. Anyway, so I worked on Growing Pains, and I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. Because it's like doing a mini play.
So you had the best of both worlds. You had your live audience
theater,
and television.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have a week to learn your lines and a week to find the funny parts and the whatever.
Yeah.
It was a multi-camera sitcom. Yeah. I wish it came back more.
And you
now single cameras.
You did Mom, and you did, as you said, My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
You mentioned something about that show to me, which was certainly an interesting kind of television experiment in a way, sort of like Cops, when the singing, dancing Cops in a way. And it was right after La La Land, I think, had come out. So some of the singing in the sitcom was, maybe in vogue perhaps then. But you said that really raised the bar for you because they were theater actors.
They were Broadway.
Yeah.
Big fancy Broadway people. People from Book of Mormon, Cinderella.
Right.
Patti LuPone was on there. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Really?
Not in any scene I was in, but I remember seeing her. Anyway, so all these people that I was, in awe of were sitting around a table at table read, and they'd be singing like genius singing.
Oh. Did you have to sing?
I sang 2 songs. I sang my first episode. I was a hype man for a hip hop song. Yes. I give good parent, as they say, and I would say, she give good parent. I had to say parent because I was Filipino. Wow. She gives good parent. Anyway, and then later I sang a song in the last season that I worked on the show before I came here. They wrote a song for me because I was Josh, the love interest mom, who was Filipino, and I was Filipina, and I had to sing a song, Get Your Ass Out of My House, which is exactly what I was thinking about my daughter Penelope at the time. So I thought, are you in my house?
Penelope,
do you know I'm feeling like this? Yeah. It was so perfect.
Well, tell me about Penelope, because she has blossomed since those days.
Yes.
And Penelope is from where? How did she come into your life?
I think in my late 30s, early 40s, I was like, cliche, wait a minute, I forgot to have a kid. But unfortunately, I wasn't in a good relationship. And I didn't feel like bringing another child into the world. I didn't feel the need to get pregnant. I didn't need that experience, but I wanted to be a mom. So I decided to start the process of adoption. Right. And I wasn't even sure that single moms would be able to do it, but I didn't have anybody at that time who was doing it. So
you didn't have mentored?
No. I've been a mentor now to a lot of people. And it became a real thing in Hollywood. Yes. All of a sudden, everybody was adopting, kids from Malawi or...
Right.
I just went local. I went to Children's Services in Los Angeles, took a class, signed up, learned a bunch of stuff, became a foster parent. They have a thing called Foster Adopt. And I had a really good social worker who worked with me. And I just did all the steps. And then in the middle of that, I went to New York and did a play. Oof. I did that 12th night at Lincoln Center where we reconnected. Yep. And then I came back to LA, and the social worker was like, are you still interested? And I went, yeah. I just was busy with this other thing. So I got back on board the whole adoption train, got approved, got everything done. And then, hearing all the stories, I wasn't sure how long it was going to take. So I started to investigate adoption from China, adoption from Vietnam. And I was sitting one day, 6 months into it, and I got a call from my social worker saying a girl was born last week. She's here at Hollywood Presbyterian. If you want her, you can have her. And I was like, yeah. Come tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And I said, okay. But I was so not sure that it was actually going to happen. Oh, yeah. No, and I didn't know it was going to be a newborn. So I had nothing. I had no diapers because you don't know. You have to have a room.
Yeah.
The requirements are a room with a dresser and a bed of some sort because I knew I was going to have a baby. So I didn't tell anybody because I thought, what if it falls through? This is too good to be true. And that morning I went walking with my friend and she's like, why do you have your phone with you? And I said, well, I might have a baby. So we did our usual walk and she was like, so what are you going to name her? And I don't know. So she was throwing out all these names. And anyway, we finished the walk and I went to the hospital and walked in and there she was in a bassinet. And they said, here she is. Isn't she beautiful? And literally, because she was a newborn and she was super skinny and tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't have a name, but she was really wrinkled and hairy. I was like, not sure how cute she is, but I love her. I mean, she was not attractive.
Again, Penelope, don't listen.
Don't listen. But it was so weird when they go, isn't she adorable? And I thought, well, no, but I love her.
Skills come in.
I didn't say no. But in my head, I thought, wow, ooh. But when I got her home and plumped her up and all the hair fell off her face, she was beautiful. It was very furry. She had a full head of hair and fuzz all over her face. She had like a unibrow. It was scary.
She had a little Frida Kahlo baby.
Yeah. She was adorable.
How did you come up with the name Penelope?
Well, then I could call people and say I have a baby. And people were like, what? Like 10 people showed up of my friends. One who had a premature baby, because Penelope was like 4 pounds, 9 ounces, very tiny, but she was healthy. She brought a big bag of preemie clothes. So she brought clothes, did the laundry, came back. I mean, she taught me how to do all these things. And all these other people were, what's her name? And I said, I don't know. I can't even think of a name. So they were throwing out names and I'm listening to names. And one person said, she looks like a penny. I think Penelope. And I thought, that's it. Wow, Penelope. It was perfect. So the name came from a good friend of mine. And Penelope knows this story.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good with names. I've never been good with names.
Yeah, we'll figure out that.
My dog was, I had a bird named Bird. I can't even think of names. So Penelope's perfect.
I love that story.
Yeah.
And so coincidentally, Penelope is going to school in Hawaii also. So you're on location here. She's going to school here.
I know.
You can still be a mom here, which sometimes you wish you didn't have to.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I try to stay away as much as possible. I have to, step away so that she can become an adult that takes care of herself.
But you sort of have semester breaks. I know that you have just a couple more episodes to go in this season, and Magnum's coming back.
Yes, I believe. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
The official word hasn't come out, but the numbers are good.
Yeah.
Everybody's assuming.
Everybody
the numbers
loves
were good last season, so that's why Jay already bought a 2-bedroom condo in this building.
Jay, who plays Magnum.
And another actor already bought a house. So I'm following that little trend.
Yeah.
I decided to jump in feet first.
And, we're all going to assume that it's coming back. But, this is not a bad place to have a
Exactly.
a house.
I thought, even if it
so
doesn't.
that I can come back when it's not raining it did my whole trip.
Yeah. You'll have your own bedroom.
Thank God.
With your own bathroom.
Yay.
So, so I decided that I would make a commitment because this is a place that this could be my home base.
Yeah.
And I could just travel and do things if I want to.
So I want to just ask as we go into the home stretch.
Because we have dinner reservations.
Yes, we do. Because I have to go back to the real winter tomorrow. at the back of Cosmo magazine back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they had the little
They had the little thing of I knew I'd really made it when, and all of these like that girl kind of women in the 70s answered, I knew I'd really made it when. Is there an I knew moment for you?
Well, I think probably this show has made
Magnum
me feel
PI.
That way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the second season.
And
maybe.
You're in like 15, 18 episodes of this season now.
Yeah, I've always had a 15 out of 20.
Got it.
So that was my contract to begin with, which is great.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, I'm a little lazy about everything. I like to have a little break. And I have other stuff going on in LA, so it gives me an opportunity to kind of do other things besides this. But, I was really ready to do theater again, and then this came up, and being with my daughter, it just felt like there was this weird kismet about the universe saying, this is my gift to you. You worked really, really hard.
Yeah.
You get to be with your daughter, and you get to sort of maybe create a new chapter in your life that doesn't include the fear of
what's next.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Now it's the first time I don't really worry about, even if the show didn't continue, I'm collecting my pension from SAG already.
Yeah, the SAG extra benefits.
Any minute I'll be getting my Social Security checks. So I feel financially okay. I'm really healthy.
Yep.
Considering other people my age are not.
That's a good thing because you're blonde and you're having more fun.
I'm blonde and having a great life. And people have told me, really, it's like I'm living my best life right now. I'm really happy. I've been happy.
Yep.
But I'm really settled and happy. I think the older you get, the better you get that way.
I have to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to keep your body okay so that you can still enjoy this newfound clarity about life.
Yeah. Oh, Amy Hill, that was fantastic. So I just have to say, it's quite a living.
It's quite a life.